Welcome to this episode of the Mark and Mitch Show with our continued coverage of the M3 Festival that took place early in May. Absolutely one of the greatest festivals you can ever attend, both as a fan and as media. Would you agree with that statement? I mean, isn't it just
Yeah.
wow?
Yeah, it is. It is just so much fun. It's all the bands that we love, that you guys love. You have to go next year. Just one after another. So much bang for your buck,
Yeah.
and just a big party vibe going on there. Everyone, you leave all your opinions and on everything else at the door. Everyone gets together for their love of this style of music, and it's a big happy family. And wow, it's just great. I want to go every single year. That as long as they continue to put this festival on, I will be there every year. So much fun.
Mm.
It was great having you there this year.
And thank you, by the way, I've never seen so many fans happy with they just walk around with a smile on their face. Everybody, you just don't see that at festivals, especially at heavy metal festivals. You get a lot of the wow. They were thrilled. Anyway, we between you and I on talking metal, talking rock, and of course Westwood One's Rock Talk with Mitch Lafon. We have interviews with Great White, Steve Brown of Trickster, Y&T, Faster Pussycat. We had Striper last wall-to-wall coverage. And on this episode, of course, we're going to talk to Dave of Y&T. They have a new album out called Acoustic Classix Vol.1. We do, of course, ask, will there be a Volume 2, and so on and so forth. And we cover all kinds of other stuff, including wine, because we like our vintners. So there you go. So here, without further ado, the one, the only. Yes?
Yeah, one quick note. Big thanks to Ian McCurdy for running the camera on this one.
Yes. Ian's a great guy, by the way.
Yeah.
He's very useful behind the scenes for helping us get interviews and all kinds of other great access.
Yeah.
Just
through the years,
shout-
he's been tremendously helpful for Talking Metal and has brought in a lot of interviews. I don't give him enough credit. A great guy and a great person to know, because he definitely seems to be friendly with a lot of these guys that we love.
Yeah, in fact, you had that great Kiss Eric Singer interview.
Yeah, it was all
6 months ago or something like that, and he had
January.
So he set that up. So
yes.
Like, what a coup! No, I mean, Kiss wasn't doing any press anyway. Big thank you to Ian, and a big thank you, of course, to Jill Meniketti for helping us set up this Dave interview. His wife, always great to do. And so here is, without further ado, from Y&T, Dave.
Hey, it's Mark Strigl with Mitch Lafon, and we are here backstage at the M3 Festival, where Y&T just played a blistering, amazing set. And the man himself, Dave Meniketti, is here with us. Dave, how many times have you played M3?
I'm going to say this is probably our third time. Yeah. Maybe fourth time? Could be the fourth time. Yeah, it's hard to remember, but yeah.
And it's such, for us fans, it's such a special event that brings together just this great community. As an artist who's played here so many times, what feelings does the M3 Festival arise in you?
Well, it's pretty rare nowadays to have rock festivals with this style of band that keeps going year to year to year in the same venue. I mean, this is probably one of a very few, if there's even, I don't know, if there's another one that does classic rock like this and just keeps doing it every year. So it somewhat reminds me of where we come from in the Bay Area, where they used to have these Days in the Green. Right. Of course, that was a much bigger affair, with like 50, 60,000 people, but it was still that basic character to it. Right. Is that you knew you were going to come out to this thing, and there was always going to be a show every year that was going to have maybe 2 or 3 of them that had classic rock bands on it, and it was the thing to do. It was and of course, every time that we tour around the U.S., every year, fans keep going, are you going to come to M3 this year? I hope you're coming to M3 this year. So obviously it's a big deal, more than just the people on the East Coast. People, travel from all over to come here for this.
Absolutely, they do, and it's really a great event, and so glad you're a part of it again this year. Let's talk about your rather recent new acoustic EP, yes, which I really, I know all the songs, but something about the way they're performed here, they really just brought some excitement back to the songs for me as a fan, you know, and I've been listening to you guys since I was a teenager. How did it all come about, an acoustic record?
Well, it was all my idea. No, I'm just kidding. Actually, it was Aaron's idea, our bass player. Right. He's off camera over there. And Aaron had come to us because he does his own acoustic duo that he does shows all the time. And he just thought, you know, we could be doing something really special by doing some acoustic versions of some of our classic songs. And as soon as he mentioned it and we all agreed, let's give it a go, one of the things that I definitely wanted to do was do some things that maybe you wouldn't expect to do acoustically. So, and that ended up being, I think, probably some of the better, well, they're all good, but you know, for me, they were especially special because of that fact that they're not a song that you would expect to hear acoustically, but because of that, you like you said, you're getting this totally different skew on a song that you know only too well, you know, being electrically played. And the other good thing about acoustic is that you really hear the vocals, you know, and I think that that's a cool thing for all of us, is the fact that we've all been proud of our vocals, and we get to sort of bring that to the forefront.
Absolutely. We were talking with Dave Meniketti, and the acoustic EP is Acoustic Classix Vol.1, and it's only been out a few months, I believe, right? Rather new.
Yeah, we recorded it at the beginning of December and released it, I believe, maybe January, the 1st of January, or the end of December, something like that, yeah.
Well, I'm just thinking now, since it's a volume 1, are we looking at a volume 2? I mean, have we already started working on something like that? Is there a plan for 3, 4, 5 as we go down the way?
Well, absolutely, we'll want to do more. Yeah, sorry. We'll definitely want to do more because it was fun, you know, and obviously it's always fun to do any recording project when the whole band gets together and has an equal say in what's happening and how we're going to put it together. And that's what went down with this one. I mean, when we just got into the rehearsal studio a couple of days before we went into to record it, to go, let's go through some songs and see which ones seem to feel fun to play acoustically. And then, of course, the rhythm section gets to come up with all these different vibes behind it to make it special. Like the bass line that Aaron's playing for Black Tiger, for example, is just awesome, you know, and it's just, it brings this whole other thing to it. So we can definitely say that we'll be looking forward to doing another version of this thing. I don't know when it's going to be, but it's something that we could put together pretty quickly.
You are, of course, known for the live show and the ripping solos and the whole thing. Would you consider a stripped back acoustic tour?
Probably not. Only because, you know, I think it'd be fun to maybe break it down in the middle of a set and say, have us do an acoustic thing, you know, maybe a couple of songs. That could be a thing. But going out and doing a whole tour acoustically, I would feel unfulfilled. Okay. Let's put it that way. Simply because the power and the majesty of Y&T is really us plugged in and taking our heads off when we're playing. And not that I can't get into what I'm doing acoustically, but there's no other feeling like that to me. You know.
I got you.
Yeah. And it's been, I guess, going on 8 years since there was a new studio album, full studio album of original material. Is that something you have an interest in doing again, a new studio album of, you know, full-on electric Y&T stuff?
Yes, it is. Y&T, we play, you know, 70, 80 shows a year. We're all over the Fargan place, and when we get some time off, people are scattered. So it's very difficult to even get us all together in the same room for one rehearsal, you know, when we have a month to do it. You know, it's like, who's got time to be here at the same time? So but we have to just get into the space where we say, okay, we're not playing 3 months in a row. We need to get in and sit there and write together, because I want to write together. I mean, I do well on my own and coming up with ideas and stuff too, but I want to see how we write together, especially now we got Aaron in the band. I want to see what happens, you know, and we need to carve the time to do that. I'm not the kind of guy that likes to write when I'm on the road. I'm way too busy. I'm either doing interviews, sleeping, sound checks, driving, or something, you know. So it's just not my thing. I would much rather be in a space where I just say, I'm in writing mode now. And then it all comes together for all of us, I think. So we're obviously not fast on the draw to come up with, prolifically coming up with new stuff all the time. But, for what it's worth, we will do another one. Absolutely.
Awesome. That's great news. And you mentioned Aaron a few times. He is the newer bassist who's been in the band, I guess, little over 2 years at this point. Where did you first discover Aaron?
I've seen Aaron on and off over the years. Mostly, I think he was on the side of a road with a baggie and some booze, laying on the ground. He just left. So
he left the room when I mentioned his name.
Yeah, bum on the street. But anyway, no, I'd seen him around every once in a while. And then a couple of years ago, we had Frank Hannon's band supporting us at a couple of shows in the Bay Area that we do as a really awesome affair that we do every year right after we come back from Europe in the fall at the Mystic Theater. And so Frank came out and played a couple of shows with us. And I remember seeing Aaron on stage going, man, that guy's great, I remembered him, because that's not many guys that go around with a
cool look too.
Yeah, he has a distinctive look, yeah. And so, it was one of these things where when we were looking to make a change in the band, he was kind of the first guy I was thinking of, not only because of seeing him in Frank Hannon's band, but also because earlier in that same tour that we were starting to think about changing lineups with a bass player, Aaron was our guitar tech for half the tour. So we knew that he was a good hang. We knew that he was a good player, and that he was a serious Y&T fan. Yeah. So it just made sense that we should at least give him a shot at it and have him come into the rehearsal studio and play some tracks down. And it was awesome. It was awesome because he's such a fan of the original band that he was really playing a lot of our original bass player, Phil Kennemore's, his riffs exactly like Phil would play them. Wow. And I was getting hair just coming up on my arms when we were doing the first couple songs going, wow, I haven't heard those bass riffs like that in like a long time. Wow. Yeah, and it was pretty cool.
It's awesome.
And of course, the documentary.
Yes.
Let us talk about the documentary. I mean, is Aaron coming in the band while you had to sort of slow it down? You need to film more? No, seriously. No, but where are we on that project?
Well, the crew that we gave the documentary to, obviously they had no idea just how big of a scope that it was going to take. And it ended up being one of these deals where there were more and more artists that kept wanting to get involved in it and give their little thing about what Y&T meant to them and so on and so forth, and more people in the industry that we needed to get going. But as that was happening, and as they were starting to realize that they woefully underscoped how much time it was going to take for these two guys, that have other jobs on the side, sitting in their production room, trying to crank this stuff out, things started changing. All of a sudden, our original drummer passes away. Then 8 months later, our original rhythm guitar player passes away. And then we changed bass players. And all these different things are happening. And, of course, with each change, there's now another story that needs to be told as well. So, I'm not trying to make excuses, but it's just one of these things where we're all frustrated that it's taking as long as it is. But, and I know that the fans are for sure. But I have seen plenty of cuts from it. And from what I can tell, and, of course, I'm too close to it to some degree, but we've had some other friends that have watched the things with us that, are truly on the outside. And everybody has been pretty much universally going, this is going to be great. It's going to be entertaining. It's going to be fun. It's going to be what it is. I mean, there's a lot of material to cover. So if it ends up being a double DVD, that's going to have to be that way, But it's, they're just starting to get to the point where they're getting into editing, and that'll probably happen in the next month or so. So We got a lot of stuff to edit. We got to whittle down probably about 2/3 of it, so we'll see what happens.
Right. That leaves you bonus footage for the DVDs.
Absolutely.
Extras.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah.
Two. I know we're a little over our time here, but two quick questions, Dave. You are a winemaker. Can you talk a little bit about your wine company and tell people
Sure.
what it is? Meniketti Wines, right?
Yes, and that's Meniketti Wines. No, that's right. Everybody says Meniketti. I think because it sounds like manicotti, which tastes great, by the way. But yes, my wife and I really got into wines about 12, 15 years ago, and it became a passion for us. It was not just about getting a buzz. It was about really getting into the bare bones about what the wines were all about the terroir, literally the ground that it's growing in, and the slopes and the different, heights and how it's facing the sun, and I mean everything about it, all the way down from the growing of the grapes to the grapes themselves, the varietals, the clones, all that stuff, and so we just became such nerds about wine that it was one of our favorite things to do now is to just go with our friends and let's go wine tasting. Let's go check some new wines out. Let's go check these new wineries. Let's go, and it's been a passion of ours for so long. And there's one winery in our area that just has superb wines for year after year. They're Testarossa, and Testarossa was fairly close to our home. And my wife and I would go up there all the time to hang out and to taste their new wines. And we became friends with the owners. And little by little, some of the people that worked there over the years kept coming up to me saying, Dave, you should come out with your own wines because you're so into it. You've got a really good palate. I think you could really, do something well with this. And at first I didn't want to do it, but I kind of got the buzz eventually to make it happen. So my whole thing was predicated on if I can buy the grapes from the vineyards that my wife and I love so much and make the kind of wine that we love to drink at home and share that with other people, c'est la vie. That's how it started.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. And is there a website or what's the best way to get this stuff?
We're pretty much direct to consumer right now. We don't have an actual winery location. I mean, we do have a winery that our wines are processed and crushed and the barrels they're there and everything, but it's not our personal winery. We're sharing space with another winery. And so it's all online at MenikettiWines.com, and we ship to 43 different states. In fact, we ship to pretty much every state that is legal to ship wine from California to. And the other states that we can't, it's a felony to ship wine there. Yes, it's
what two states are those?
It's like 7 states or something. I can't remember them exactly, but it's old laws from like when the Prohibition thing was happening, and they never changed it.
Wow.
Yeah, it's just really strange stuff. So, but I always tell people if you're really wanting it, make a vacation to California, get it right there because we also have a couple of locations near us that actually carry our wines in retail as well. Or just order it from a neighboring state and go there and pick it up at a friend's house or send it to a hotel that you're at. Whatever.
Last question. You were a part of the historic hearing aid project, STARS, that Ronnie James Dio, along with Vivian Campbell and the late Jimmy Bain, put together. Any memories of that historic day or recording it that you could share with the listeners and viewers?
Well, it's a nonstop memory event. Just because everything about that, it was 2 days. Everything about those 2 days, well, mostly the first day, was pretty monumental. And I say that because you're getting together sort of the cream of the crop of the heavy metal, hard rock, whatever you wanted to call it at the time, bands. And a lot of us all knew each other because we'd either played shows together or had met each other through the years. And sometimes there were some people I've never met, and the same with everyone else. And so it was a great, amazing time for all of us to get together and slap five to each other and tell stories and just have this great camaraderie that was going on. And along with all of that, every hallway of A&M Records, because that's where they did it, was just jammed with musicians and press. And so everybody was getting interviewed. Yeah. So it was like you could trip over something and fall into, another interview and another. And what was really cool was that when you got all of these musicians together in the big Studio A room at A&M, and they're standing there in like bleachers ready to sing this magnificent chorus. Impossible, I would say literally impossible, to be able to get all of these musicians to shut up and just sing the friggin' song, right? But because Ronnie James Dio was standing in front of us, everybody had the respect. Yeah. And it was so fun and it was so cool to see that. And then after we disbanded from doing that, a lot of us would just go into the control room and watch different guitar players doing the solos. And wow, how fun was that, man, to watch Yngwie, just doing his thing and just like going, wow, man, this is so fun. George Lynch, Yngwie, there were different people that were doing it at the time. So it was just unbelievable. Now, the next day, quite a different experience. I showed up to be the first vocalist to sing on it, just other than Ronnie himself. Wow. And 9 o'clock in the morning now, after a very long night of partying and hanging with a lot of other rock stars, and it was just me and Rob Halford in the hallway basically, and Rob was waiting for me to come in after I did mine. So a little pressure, and I'm sitting there hearing the entire song for the very first time, because all I'd heard before was just the chorus and the solo sections with the guys playing solos over it. So Ronnie sits in the control room and says, "Put your headphones on." Sorry if this is too long, no, but and he goes, "Okay, I'm just going to play the whole song down to you. Here's the lyrics, and listen to how I sang it. Give you an idea how to do it." And so here we go. Let's roll it. And I just went all the way through it, and got to the end, and Ronnie goes, "Awesome, Dave, you're done." And I'm like, "No, wait a minute. I could do that better, I swear." No, it's great. It's great. Just do me one thing and do some extra little vibes at the end of the song, whoa, or something like that, And I did my thing. I sat around for a few minutes before I took off to go home. And we had to watch Rob Halford, we had to watch Rob. And he was, he was in full, he looked the part, man, and at 9 o'clock in the morning, bless his heart. And it was great. It was really an amazing experience. I so miss the fact that Ronnie Dio is not around to be part of what's still a very popular genre of music. But he's in our heart. And, I miss him dearly. He's one of my favorite singers in this style of music. There's almost no one that can top that man's voice. He may not have been a tall man, but he had a gigantic voice. And he was such a sweet man. He was always nice to his fans, always nice to other people around him. I can't think of a better example to show other musicians of how to be, to be a real star.
Right.
Yeah.
Great stuff. Great stories. Mitch, anything else?
No, we're good. Thank you.
Cool. Yeah, thank you for your
pleasure.
time, Dave.
Mitch, you are awesome, too.
Thank you,
guys.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, really.
Cool.